It's time for Recipe of the Day. Happy Friday, we made it. And I don't know about you, but I am in the mood for a good burger. And I'm telling you today about how to make homemade steak burgers. So what exactly is a steak burger? I'll tell you that it was hard for me to get a good definition or really figure it out. A lot of people will say that it is made from ground beef that comes from a grilling steak, like a New York strip or a ribeye, or some will say that it's just made from really high quality ground beef. And then some people say that it just has to be the kind of burger that you'd get at a steakhouse. That leaves it a little bit vague. And then when you start researching steak burgers, you sometimes go down this rabbit hole of people talking about the smash burgers or steak and shake style burgers, which are not what we're talking about here. So this is just a really big beefy burger with a lot of great flavor that, yes, would be good enough to serve at a great steakhouse. So you absolutely can get a New York strip or ribeye and grind that up yourself or have your butcher grind it up for you, but I'm not doing that. If I've got a nice steak, I am grilling it as is. Instead, I recommend that you use some ground sirloin. You can get that at the grocery store. That is going to be the beefiest flavored meat. Now, the thing about sirloin is, though, that it is a little bit leaner. That's how it gets so much beefy flavor. It's because it doesn't have anything else really going on in it. And so I am telling you to counter that by shredding some cold butter into the meat mixture directly in there and pan frying your burger patties in butter as well to get a nice brown crust and good flavor. If you do it on the grill, you can't do the butter on the outside, but then you can put a little extra butter on the inside. That will work. The other big deal about these is that they are on the larger side. They are 6 ounces, which is more than a third of a pound. And also, I like to keep the toppings really simple on this to really have that great burger flavor and not have much else fighting it. I will tell you what my favorite toppings are to go with, but what I think you should do is just choose 3 things, So for me, I think I would go with my homemade burger sauce, some pickles, sliced dill pickles, always my favorite, and some red onion sliced. Maybe also a little bit of lettuce. So that's 4 things. But really, it's just keeping it kind of minimal so that the beefy burger can really shine through. If you want to go crazy with the toppings, go crazy with the toppings. But I'm saying try it this way and find out if that burger flavor is just more robust and juicier and better without all the other stuff going on. It's also easier on the cook if you're doing less toppings, right? Okay, let's jump into making these burgers. You're going to put 1.5 pounds of ground sirloin into a large bowl. Then in a small bowl, mix together your seasonings. It's 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Mix that up, sprinkle it on the sirloin, and then grate onto that 2 tablespoons of cold butter. You can eyeball that, but you're taking your stick of butter and you're taking your cheese grater with the larger holes like you would shred cheese for pizza, that kind of thing. And you're just shredding that butter straight onto the seasoning and meat underneath, and then mix it all up just once, trying hard not to over mix it because the more you handle it, the tougher your burger will be. So that's why we mix the seasonings together first. So we know those are mixed, writing the butter over top of it all. And then we're just doing 1 round of mixing on that meat. Then divide your mixture into 4 equal portions. So we started with 1.5 pounds of ground beef. So you already can see those are some nice big burgers. And then shape each one into a ball. I find it easier to compress the meat into a sphere between my 2 hands, really nice and tight, and then flatten it into a disc. You want it about 4 inches in diameter. And it's a good idea to make the center, the middle of your patty, a little bit thinner than the edges. And that's just because if you've cooked burgers before, you know that the middle will often sort of puff up and end up thicker than the edges, and then the toppings don't sit on there as nicely. So if you make it a little thinner in the middle, that will help it. Also, it speeds up the cooking time a little bit because you've got that thinner bit in the middle, which is the last part to cook. Okay, once you shape your patties, I would put them on a plate, just set them off to the side for a moment, and that should be when you get all of your toppings ready, whatever you're going to have, so that when those burger patties come out of the pan, you can get those burgers assembled right away. So get your toppings ready, then heat Heat a large skillet over medium-high heat and add 2 tablespoons of butter to the pan and swirl to coat. And then you add those patties in and you're cooking to your desired doneness. Generally a steak burger with that ground sirloin. You want something a little bit more on the medium rare side, like around 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which is going to be 3 minutes per side. That is what the burger aficionados will tell you. I'll say I don't really like my ground meat undercooked, and that's weird. Like, I like steak tartare. I will eat it. It's not that I love steak tartare, but just in my burgers, I find them kind of like mushy or slippery when they're not fully cooked all the way through. I just am not enjoying that texture as much there. So I like mine a little bit more towards medium well. So it's going to be more like 4 to 5 minutes per side. And then you're taking those patties out of that frying pan and you can let them rest for a few minutes while you toast your buns. Very important to have toasted buns. That makes a burger. Get those toppings onto the buns and then add the patty, and it's time to eat. Celebrate Friday. Have a great burger. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.